Welcome on into the first divisional round BKL Nightly of the week. I'm Thad Brown along with Caleb Carr and Rachel Liber. We're going to break down a little bit of the Bills and Jags, more from the wild card win yesterday. Big injury updates. We'll get to that. Plus, we'll start talking about the Broncos and what lies ahead for the Buffalo Bills. Let's get to this injury update first. The big one, Ed Oliver, back to practice this week. The return from IR window has been opened. Curtis Samuel too, but nobody cares about that. People will care about that. It is important. But Ed Oliver is the big one. This is something people have been waiting for, Bills fans, for a while, but whether or not he could be available at some point. Now, I don't know if this means that he will play this week. Sean McDermott did not talk at all about what the plan might be for Oliver this week. McDermott will meet with the media again tomorrow, so we might get that update, and I'm assuming we'll get more of an update tomorrow. Now, while Sean McDermott did not talk about Ed Oliver, Bobby Babich did, and although it wasn't really about the plan, it was to a degree about what to expect from week one of Oliver practicing. Babich kind of talking about what it's like for a guy to come back after being on rehab for a long time.
Some of these guys, when they go on IR, you know, they don't come around as much because they're more worried. Their focus is on their rehab. But you guys have seen it. Like, he can't stay away. Like, he's showing up at individual and all that. Then he's on the side doing, like, just little things and mimicking drills and all those. So Ed's a ball guy. Ed loves ball. Ed wants to play football. The way he practices shows you that he loves football. And so we'll see where he's at.
Certainly some uncertainty about what's going to happen. The guy hasn't even been on a football field since, I think it was week 4 or 5 against the Patriots, whenever that Patriots game was when he suffered the injury. So it's been months, plural, since Ed Oliver's even been on a practice field. My guess is he doesn't play this week. We'll see how it goes. But without sitting here and trying to play doctor for 30 minutes, what is the impact, Rachel, that the Bills could get from Ed Oliver, understanding that they're probably not going to get mid-season ready to go, dialed in Ed Oliver right off the bat?
I think Ed Oliver can bring an impact regardless if he's 100% healthy or whatever, percentage he is when he comes back. I mean, week one, the talk of the win was Ed Oliver, other than Matt Prater's game-winning field goal, was Ed Oliver and just how much production he had in that game. And we have yet to see that, obviously, because he hasn't been healthy. And so I think whether or not he returns this week and the Bills play again next week and he makes his return then, I think this could be huge for a D-line that, especially against the Jags, struggled in the rushing game. And I think anything with Ed Oliver, just knowing the caliber of player he is, I think would be a good thing, regardless, like I said, if he's 100% or maybe, 70 or 80% healthy.
Yeah, I agree with Rachel. Even if he's only 75% ready to go, he brings a level of knowledge of this Bills defense, and he brings a leadership. Now, obviously, like Babich just said, he's been at the facility. He's still bringing that leadership, but there's a difference between being a leader on the sideline and being a leader in the middle of the defensive line. So even if he's not full go, I think he can have a big positive impact just because he knows how this defense runs, and he can kind of help the other guys. He can help them up a little bit.
Let's be fair. He's going to have an impact because they're really not that good at defensive tackle right now.
That also.
And anything will help. Ed Oliver is going to be more than anything. The other part of this, too, is it's going to be a lift for everybody else. Just to see 91 out there doing stuff, even to the point of, if he's not available this week, there's going to be a carrot out there. Not that there isn't one already. That AFC Championship thing is pretty cool. But if they can get through this game, if that's all it takes to get Ed Oliver back on the field and to put this defense in a position where they're a heck of a lot closer to full strength, I think that will certainly go a long way towards having a positive impact on the Bills. Now, the other big topic of conversation today was the play at the very end of the game yesterday against the Jags, where the Bills had first and goal, a little over a minute to go. Jags were out of timeouts, and there's been some thought from fans and media, for that matter, that instead of the Bills scoring right away and leaving Jacksonville about a minute to come back, that maybe the Bills should have taken a knee, dove at the goal line, whatever it was, to run some time off the clock before they scored. And it became a very interesting debate today when Sean McDermott and Joe Brady and Bobby Babich all met with the media. All three had kind of a different take on what maybe the Bills should have or could have done in that situation.
I mean, come on. Who would not want to bleed time off that clock? It is a slippery slope, though, at the same time. If you try and get too cute and then you all of a sudden take yourself out of, call it quarterback sneak position, now you're running different plays. And now the chance for a negative play to come into play becomes more and more real.
There's so many different variables that come into play, right? You can think about, hey, let's take a knee, right? Let's take a knee. Well, do we know for sure that they're going to be letting you score, right? Now I got Josh Allen taking a knee on the 1 yard line while they're playing for a QB sneak, pushing back. Who knows how that could play out? At the end of the day, it's hard to score touchdowns in the NFL, and I think the discussions are always warranted, and there's a lot of variables that you can go about it.
We want that, right, defensively, like put the game on us. Josh has certainly done plenty for us over my 9 years here, to where, every once in a while we need to go ahead and take care of things for him and the offense.
A few takes from that for me, right off the bat. Number one, I can't believe how many pictures you found from Getty that were Josh smashed among 7 bodies at the goal line.
Really? Did you watch the game?
It did happen a lot, though.
Okay.
I mean, it's still, I kind of, wow, there's another one. Oh, that's a different, oh, yeah, there's that one, too. Secondly, the Bobby Babich line about, Josh has saved us enough, about time that we turned around and did it ourselves. I like both. Those were funny. Rachel, let me start with you because Caleb and I had a chance to debate this yesterday on the Game Day Recap show. Anywhere you want to go with this, where do you lie with how the Bills treated that end of game situation?
I like the way they treated it. I think Sean McDermott said anytime you give them less time is ideal, but I think to his point too, you take a knee, you don't know what's going to happen, could result in a negative play. And I think the Bills had the momentum to, they're working their way down the field and just keep going. And like you said, Bobby Babich's comment about we want the defense to get the job done. Okay, ideally you want Josh Allen to score the last touchdown and then that's it. But I mean, I do kind of like that sentiment. It is like a different perspective of Josh Allen has done, so much for this entire game, for this season. Like, it's our turn to do something. So I don't hate the fact that they didn't run out the clock. I mean, was it risky? Of course it was, but I don't hate the play call.
Bobby Babich, by the way, later on said that it's weird that football's gotten to the point now where as a defensive coordinator, even though you need your team to score to go ahead, there are some situations where you're like, man, I wish he would have gone down at the 1, so could have ran some more time off the clock. Caleb, where do you stand now? Anything different from yesterday? Anything, any new thoughts after what you heard the coaches say today?
First of all, with the defensive perspective, I do think it's good to see, both as a fan, as a media member, and just from the team's perspective as well. It's good to see that your defense can get the stop if they need to, because I think if we put all of this pressure on Josh Allen through the rest of these playoffs, if it's 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, whatever it may be, you can't put all the pressure on Josh Allen. The defense is going to have to step up and make some stops at some point, and they proved that they were able to do that. As a Bills fan, I think the 13-second game has scared and traumatized us so much that we're saying, no, you got to do everything you can to score at the very last second. I think this is the right call because
You're right.
I think this is the right call because, like Joe Brady said, it's hard to score in the NFL. You try to take a knee, and he said you don't know if the Jaguars are going to be now they did let them score, but you don't know if that's the case. If they go at you and Josh Allen takes a knee, all it takes is one guy to break through, and now you're 3 yards behind the line, and you can't do a QB sneak anymore. Now you got to pass, or you got to run with James Cook, and that hasn't been working. So now the door's wide open, and you have no clue what's going to happen. So I like we're right here. It's right there. Let's go get it, and then let's figure it out from there.
So 2 schools of thought that I've heard, and I'm kind of dancing around my head. One I want to go around the table with quick. The argument against all that, and you and I both landed in the spot yesterday that we kind of felt this was the right call, is that all those bad things that the coaches all talked about today, what's really the chance that any of that's going to happen? That Josh Allen's going to take a knee and lose 3 yards. Joe Brady even talked about an injury, like that's going to happen. Or the more realistic worry is that you might have a fumbled snap. I know, Vikings game. I know. Stop. Or you might have a false start, which is more reasonable, but still unlikely. The chances of those things happening against the chances of Trevor Lawrence getting within Cam Little field goal range in 65 seconds, when you think about it that way, it almost seems kind of dumb that they didn't take the knee. What's your reaction to that? Rachel first.
You have a point. You have a good point. I mean, I think taking into account that the kicker can nail a 67-yarder definitely changes the perspective if this was any other team. But I mean, the chance is little that all of those things would happen, but I still think there's a chance. And like I said, I still think They're moving. They have the momentum. You know the Jags. There's also the high percentage that the Jags are just going to let you score. I think you take the touchdown in that situation. I still don't see a problem. I understand your argument, and I do get the chances of Josh Allen being taken down for 3 yards is probably slim to none. But I still stand by. I think it was the right way to go.
I know I just made fun of Bills fans for being traumatized about the 13-second thing, but I know the chances are low, but like you said, Vikings game, there's a few other situations too. We've seen it happen before. It happens more with this Bills team. Like, we've seen it happen. So I think just based off past experience, you just get what you can when you can get it. And then, like I keep saying, you put it in the hands of your defense. I mean, I thought that was a great opportunity for the defense to show that we can play football like we're supposed to. We're supposed to be able to win games. We can do that.
And that's cool. But if you were telling me about that as a plan of action, I'm like, if it's week 3, that's awesome. We ain't doing that in the wild card game, in the playoffs. The thing I going through all these different arguments in my head, I still land on you score there, because for all the dumb things that we think are unlikely to happen, if any of them do happen and you don't score, you lose right there. If you score, well, then now you have a chance, like the Bills did, for the defense to get a stop, and then you win. Or if that doesn't work, you're still probably going to overtime because they're not scoring a touchdown. So now you have a chance to win in overtime. So I've got multiple opportunities to cover myself if I'm leaving time on the field. Whereas if I mess up that that situation at the 1 yard line, I just lose right there. And the other thing I will say too is, to make that work, you can't take a knee. Because if you take a knee, you're going back to like the 2. You can't like take a knee at the line of scrimmage. So you need Josh Allen to kind of like go forward, but not that far forward. And anything you're asking a player to do in that level of pressure, in that cooker of a situation, that is something he's never done before or a team has never practiced, you are opening yourself up to a level of uncertainty that I would not be as cool about with, I can just be up with a minute to go and live with that. Anything else? You guys good?
No, I think just a way to say simply of how you said it is, I'd rather leave time on the field, on the clock, than leave points on the field.
Yeah. Which is what we talked about yesterday, is really where I would be in just about every other situation. That one was kind of unique.
Yeah.
One of the reasons the Bills were in that situation, of course, is Brandon Cooks and the 36-yard catch he had on the blitz throw, one of Josh Allen's best plays of the game. And Cooks has been one of the rare like November additions that really make an impact. He's not a star receiver, but on this team, he's really changing some of the different ways the Bills move the ball down the field. And Sean McDermott today talked a little bit more about not only Cooks the player, but why Cooks the person has made Cooks the player even better.
Usually when you bring in good football players, you have a chance. Tough, good football players, high character. I mean, that's the vision from a culture standpoint. He's got football instincts. He obviously can run. He's tough. He's a good person. And, I mean, we've only been around each other probably a month and change maybe. But that's what I see, and that's what I've heard about him before he got here. So that toughness piece is real, especially when you're a wide receiver. I mean, you look at the wide receivers around the league who are making plays right now in the playoffs. Yeah, most of them got that toughness element.
I think McDermott's really right about that. That at this level, you can't just be a really big and fast athlete. You got to have a little grit to make the plays that need to be made. Now, as we talked about yesterday on BKL Game Day Recap as well about Cooks, as good as he's been, he had a drop in this game. I know it was a replay overturned drop. He's had some issues with catching the ball. But separate of that, he has been, next to Khalil Shakir, the best and most productive receiver on this team, the most dependable one. Caleb, why do you think at this point Cooks has been as much of a help as he's been in such a short time with the Bills?
He gets open. I mean, that's even
back to you.
That's the only. We haven't seen a wide receiver on this Bills team other than maybe Khalil Shakir at times, like in the slot or something. We haven't seen a receiver get open, especially down the field. Even though he dropped the one ball, even though he's had some drops, at least it gets to him, and at least Josh Allen can throw it to him because he's open enough to be thrown to. And even there were a couple of plays, first play after Allen kind of tweaked his finger, Allen overthrew Cooks. He was open on that play too. So there are other times where he's getting open, even if the ball's not getting thrown to him. He's one of the only receivers on this team right now that can, I'll say consistently, get open.
It's funny because sometimes coaches describe players as, well, they're just a football player, and you're like, well, obviously they're just a football player, but you understand what they mean.
Yeah,
but you understand what they mean, and I think Brandon Cooks is just a football player, like, which sounds really stupid, but like you said, he has toughness. I feel like he's come into this like offense and just in an offense that hasn't had a receiving game really all season. He's just a football player. He's a smart. You can tell that he knows what he's doing. And I think too, a big part of it is he's, for me, like really made up what Keon Coleman is lacking in the just being open, exactly like Caleb said, just being open, being someone who can make big plays, who can also be consistent. And it's funny because we were talking about when he first, back in November, he wasn't really doing anything through those first 4 games. And we were like, this might be kind of a bust of a pickup. And now we've talked about him for the last, 2-3 weeks. So I think just him being a football player, simply put, is why it's working.
I think knowing his role and being comfortable in his role is a big part. I think you hit on the head there. That when you look at all the other receivers on this team, Keon Coleman really still figuring a lot of things out. Khalil Shakir kind of has his role, but even he feels a little stretched because he's probably a really good number 3 trying to be a number 1, so not comfortable in what he's being asked to do. Terrell Shavers is just happy to be on the roster, not to knock him. I mean, this is a guy that really, has found his way onto the 53 for the first time this year. Curtis Samuel and maybe Josh Palmer trying to justify a free agent contract, whereas Brandon Cooks just showed up and said, I'm going to do what I do. And you can tell at his point in his career, it's either going to work or it's not. And he feels pretty good about the former over the latter. And I think that has made a difference, that it has not only made him a better player, but it offers the Bills a calming influence to the entire passing game that no matter what else is going on, how many times Josh Allen's running around with his hair on fire, 18 knows what he's doing. He might not be winning all the time, but to Caleb's point, he's winning more than you'd think. But at least when he wins, like he's doing it comfortably, competently, professionally, which for this receiving core is an incredible step up. Let's move to our roundtable now, and we will begin with our reaction to this game from the point of view of the Bills were not exactly a team that was expected, maybe guaranteed to go to a Super Bowl, but now they're one step closer. Last week we talked about they had to win 3 games, now they just have to win 2. Caleb, I'll start with you. How much does this win over Jacksonville change what your expectations are for this Bills postseason?
Last week when we ranked all the teams and their Super Bowl chances in the AFC, you put the Denver Broncos at number 1, and your reason was because they play one less game. So
and they're home.
So kind of to the same extent, I am slightly more confident that they can win a Super Bowl now because they have one less game to go. But aside of that, I do think it's a positive that they showed that they can win a gritty game without James Cook being much of a factor. I think that's a big thing. We talked about this yesterday. Josh Allen wasn't necessarily Superman because we've seen, hey, James Cook isn't playing, Josh Allen's Superman, the Bills win. But this was more, James Cook isn't much of a factor. Josh Allen is, I think you said Clark Kent yesterday, where he's just doing exactly what he needs to do. He's taking what the defense gives him. The receivers made some plays, the defense made some plays, and the Bills won a game. So I think that is very, for me, a positive. I don't think they're my Super Bowl favorites right now, but I'm definitely a little bit more confident.
By the way, I did look that up. Who do you think odds makers say right now is the Super Bowl favorite? I'll let you guys both guess.
In the AFC?
In the AFC, yeah.
Oh, in the AFC.
To make the Super Bowl.
Broncos?
Who do you think, Rich?
I want to say the Patriots, but I don't know why.
Yeah, it's probably one of the two.
Patriots is the answer.
Yeah.
Broncos are actually third. It's Patriots,
Really?
Bills, Broncos right now.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, because the Bills are favored to beat the Broncos, so
Okay.
Vegas can't
Yeah.
make the Broncos
Yeah, I guess,
more
I
likely to
guess
go to the Super
that's-
Bowl. Rachel, how much different does the Bills win change your estimation of this team?
This changed a lot for me because my biggest concern, I think, for most Bills fans is just the offense. And like you said, when James Cook isn't doing James Cook things, what is this offense? And yesterday, the Bills showed exactly what this offense can be. They looked like a complete offense, maybe not because the rushing game was lacking a little bit, but we expected that with the Jags' top rushing defense. And the receivers, going back to that, 204 of the 273 passing yards from Josh Allen were 2 receivers, which I don't know the last time we've seen that all season. So that gives me hope that, we're not relying on tight ends. We're not relying on James Cook. We're not relying on, Ty Johnson to have to run a short route and catch a ball. I mean, I feel like the offense looked maybe the most complete it has in a while, and that's why I feel more confident in potentially being Super Bowl favorites besides Patriots and besides Denver.
Number 2. The number, by the way, the odds are really close. I think it was, depending on what book you're looking at, it's like plus 215 for New England, plus 230 for Buffalo, 260 for Denver. So they're, and then it's a big separation to Houston and Pittsburgh. Obviously, they both have to play a game on Monday night. So I'm with you guys, obviously, in the part of they won the game. Yay, that's better. So, and the point you made about winning without James Cook is a good one. I went into this postseason, though, with the biggest concern about the Bills being that they're flawed in many ways. Not many ways, but they have significant flaws. Everybody does, but they've got to get around that 3 different times. And any one game, I think the Bills can win. But can they do it 3 times in a row on the road? That's my doubt. So it's great they got through this first one. And this is also not against the Chargers or the Steelers, teams we didn't really think were in the mix to go to the Super Bowl. But I'm still pretty much in the same spot of I don't know if they can do it 3 times in a row. And I like them. We're going to talk about the Broncos in literally right this second. I like them a lot this week against Denver. But these 5 teams who we thought were likely to win a Super Bowl to me were so close that I think each game is kind of its own animal. And I can analyze it up and down. Just because I think Buffalo's better doesn't mean they're going to win the game. It's going to be, stuff's going to happen. You know, in this game, it was Trevor Lawrence slipping on a 4th and 2. And it was the kicking battle going entirely the opposite of the way we thought it was going to go. Stuff like that's going to happen. For the Bills to get to work out their way 3 times in a row, that's where I still land on some doubt right now. Speaking of the Broncos, they are the 1 seed, allegedly. How good do we think Denver really is after winning 14 games with Rachel? 11 of them were by 1 score.
I think they're good. I think in this AFC, they have earned the 1 seed. I don't discount them for being the 1 seed. But it goes back to the same conversation we had with the Patriots. The Patriots had a 10-game win streak. The Broncos had an 11-game win streak. How legit is that? I mean, they don't have very many big wins. Like you said, most of them are by 1 score. I think they're good. Their defense is better than their offense, but I still think they're good enough to beat the Bills this weekend. Not saying that I think that's what's going to happen, but I still think they're a good team. I don't think we can count them out just because their wins maybe aren't stacking up against AFC opponents less. Maybe NFC is a little bit of a more legit opponents over there, but I still think they're a good team.
I love the comment that they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, which is,
I mean, that's how it feels.
Exactly.
It feels like all of these teams are just, they're good, but like you said, every team has a flaw. And I mean, none of these AFC teams are perfect. I think any of these teams that are still left could be Super Bowl contenders just because of the way the AFC is going. So I think the Broncos are good, but they have their flaws just like the Bills do.
As you said, a lot of 1-score games. They beat the Jets by only 2. They beat the Giants by 1. Over their 2 games against the Raiders, a combined 10 points. Commanders by only 1. They just lost to the Jaguars a few weeks ago.
by 14, by the way.
By 14. Mm-hmm. In the same sense, they've beat the Texans, the Packers, the Eagles, the Chargers. Those are some of the better teams they've played. Even though it's only 1-score games, they find ways to win. I think that's the biggest thing about them is whether it's against a bad team or a good team, they make their mistakes in the game, but then they find a way to get it done at the end. I mean, they were down to the Giants, I believe it was, by a lot, and they pulled off a big comeback at the end. I don't care how bad the team is. If you're down by a lot in the 4th quarter, it's tough to win that game. Bills have done it multiple times this year, but it's tough to win that game. So I think they've proven that they can find ways to win. I think the big thing, and it's really the main thing that we've been talking about this entire postseason, is just the experience. I don't think that they have the experience in this game. Can they find a way to win? Yeah, they can find a way to win in week 14, but can they do it in the divisional round? I'm not as confident. As much as we've talked about these teams having flaws, they all have superpowers too. And in the same way that the Chicago Bears have some inexplicable ability to just pull games out of their backside at the end of the contest, the Broncos live in that world. So I think priority A for the Bills is don't be in a 3-point game with this team late. Like, make sure it's over. I know you have Josh Allen, and that's Buffalo's superpower. My opinion on the Broncos is getting to the point where they're so bad, it's bad for the Bills. That we're going to spend this whole week talking about how bad the Broncos are, how much they don't deserve the 1 seed. The defense is a paper tiger in almost every way. They don't stop the run well, which is bad for this matchup. Last 6 games of the year, I looked this up today, EPA per play. The defense, the good part of the team, 17th in the NFL EPA per play last 6 games of the year, 24th EPA per run. They're bad against, they're not even like not great. They're bad against the run the last 6 weeks of the year. They have almost no good wins. The only team they've beaten that's still playing right now is Houston, and that might not be true in about 7 hours.
they're 2-3, I think it was, or 3-2 against teams who actually did make the playoffs. And one of those wins is the Chargers, like end of the year. I got to refer to
Sounds right. Well, they
played 5.
I was going to say they've beaten the
Green
Texans,
Bay
Packers,
and
Eagles,
Chargers.
and Chargers.
Oh, Eagles. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I might have been missing the
Yeah, you've
forgetting
got
the
at
last
least four,
Chargers.
at least
Yeah.
4 wins there. Yeah.
Regardless, none of them are impressive. Like
No,
the
not
Eagles win
really.
was 21-17 back in week 5. The Eagles have been a bad vibe all year. The Packers game happened when Micah Parsons got hurt. They got whooped by Jacksonville. I'm telling you, every time I look into this team, I think less of them. And I think more about how the heck did they suddenly, or did they end up in a 1 seed? Doesn't mean, you're right, Rachel, that they can win this game. And I think the part about them having the week off and having extra time to prepare is a big, big deal when we think all these teams are close together. But the answer to the question for me, how good are the Broncos? Like, alarmingly not good is the answer.
But you're saying it's bad for the Bills, how bad the Broncos are.
Because we're going to spend all week talking about how bad the Broncos are, and the Broncos are going to be the nobody believes in us team by Sunday. I'm telling you. Like, it's going to be ridiculous how little people speak highly of the Broncos as the 1 seed in the AFC.
I would like to point out to the viewers that it's nothing Thad is saying is wrong, but Thad has been a Broncos hater from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So
I-
just
like, I'm
know
not-
that. Just know that he's
Not
a
a believer in
big
Bo
Broncos
Nix.
hater.
Broncos-
Not saying you're wrong.
Broncos hater is strong.
Doubter?
Non-Broncos
it?
believer is accurate.
When we get back in there, re-listen to what you just said and then tell me if hater is strong.
Oh, not now. That sounds very haterish. I'm not lying. Look, I get it. I'm telling. Like, every time I research this team, they just look like not good enough to be
I
the
agree
1
with you.
seed.
I agree with you.
And it doesn't mean they can win this game. They can.
Yes.
And I know what the formula is. The formula is them get ahead and be able to unleash that pass rush, which is good. But last year, the Bills just ran the ball all day and didn't have to deal with it, and they won by 30-something points. If that happens again, which is distinctly possible, it might be the same result. All right, let's get off of this. We got to bang through the rest of the roundtable here quick. Confidence up, concern up. Rachel, you go first. Confidence up for which player out of the Bills and Jags?
There's a lot of options here
Sure.
this week, but I'm going to go with the offense. I'm going to go Khalil Shakir, 12 targets, 12 catches. I mean, pretty impressive stat. I think you tweeted out it's the 8th time
Yes.
that 12-plus catches or receptions.
8th time a
You say, yeah.
receiver had at least 12 targets
There you
and
go.
caught them all.
Yes. So
Since
yeah,
1978.
confidence up for him. I know going into this game, we were talking about X factors. I know I said he might be X factor. The X factor was on the defense. I don't think it was Shakir, but I do think he did step up in this game. Consistently, we saw him. So confidence up for him.
I'm going to go with Matt Prater. He was 100% field goals. He hit a 50-yarder. I know it squeaked in there, but he still hit it. Was perfect from extra point. I mean, he looked healthy. He looked good. So I'm going to go Matt Prater.
Matt Prater was my number 2 choice. My number 1 is Trey White. And not because I didn't believe in him before, but I believe in him at a new level now. He got a question, or Bobby Babbage did today, about whether or not it's old Trey White. It's not that, but it's a way better version of Trey White than I thought we'd get this year. And it's ridiculously close to old Trey White for a guy who's been through all the injuries he has been. So I believe a lot more in the Bills, maybe not a lot more, but certainly more in Bills' corner too. Concern up. Rachel, where do you go here?
This is the first time I didn't have a glaring answer right off the bat. Not that I'm too concerned of this, but Ray Davis hit the fumble on the kick return. He
a
didn't
good call.
contribute on
Yeah.
offense at all. So not like a crazy concern, but for someone who has been the best returner in the league and then to fumble in a very high stakes situation, I think it was 7-3 at that point. The Jags had just scored. Just concern up for that.
I think, did Frank Gore have more yards from scrimmage than Ray Davis in that game?
Yeah,
I'd have
Yeah.
to
I
look it
believe
up.
he had
Yeah.
a catch.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Josh Allen's health.
Good answer.
He's a warrior. He's a fighter. He's going to, like we were saying about Brandon Cooks, he's a football player. It doesn't matter what happens to him. He's going to stay out there. But if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, and that is, you would think, the goal, Josh Allen's got to play 3 more games, probably a lot like that. Now, the Jaguars are a very physical team, but you got to think they're trying to win a Super Bowl. He's going to be fighting. He's going to be taking a lot of hits. I don't know if he can do that for 3 more games.
To that point, I don't care who the AFC Championship opponent is, any of the 3 teams left, that is going to be a brutal game to survive. New England, Pittsburgh, or Houston. My concern up is the run defense. Look, Jacksonville didn't even want to run the ball, at least most of the year, and didn't look like they wanted to run it in this game. Even after they were running it well, they're like, I don't know if we really want to do this. To allow a $160 to that team, it makes me think that I don't care who they play the rest of the year, it's going to be 100 to 150 on the ground allowed. You're just going to have to deal with that to make it through to a Super Bowl. All right, I've got no more Denver slander for today, so we are done.
Gotta wait till tomorrow.
We got more week to go, that's for sure. We're back tomorrow with another show. Bills Media Day is tomorrow. For Caleb and Rich, I'm Thad. See you later.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.